Well, let's get the latest from SABC News Correspondent on the G20 summit currently underway in India. Ishan Garg, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Perhaps you can give us an indication as to what's set to top the agenda today on the back of Xi Jinping missing in action and also, the admittance of the A as a permanent member.
It was a big day for the G20 summit, especially the inclusion of the African Union. This is something that has been in the works for several months now. And many of the BRICS nations, especially India and South Africa, have been a major proponent of this idea that African Union should be included in the G20 grouping. And this comes with a lot of benefits for this massive collection of countries that now has a seat at the table that includes some of the wealthiest nations on the planet as well as the European Union. So now the African Union is going to become a party to a lot of discussions that are going to happen around climate change, discussions around climate financing, as well as debt restructuring for especially developing nations that have struggling economies. So this is a big moment for the African Union. This is a big moment for the G20 grouping that has been criticized often for not including some of the most populous countries on earth, many of them that fall in the African continent, and for also not including some of the most rapidly developing countries which also fall in the African continent.
Ishan, you spoke about some of the issues set atop the agenda, main themes including sustainable development, the Ukraine conflict. At this point, how do we begin to measure the achievements of the G20 to date?
Well, one of the biggest achievement, or rather the biggest achievement, is certainly going to be the adoption of a joint declaration. There were rumors circulating that the grouping may not be able to arrive at a consensus about what they're going to say about the Ukraine conflict, if they're going to call it a war at all. But the word war has been used in the declaration. India has said that they have worked with the partner nations to make sure that they have arrived at a common understanding. In the joint declaration, the countries have said that this is not the era for war. This is something that India has repeated many a times, even though it hasn't criticized Russia yet for its war in Ukraine. But apart from that, the country has also said in a press conference that G20 is not the platform that is suitable for solving geopolitical challenges. It's a platform that's best suited to solve the economic crises, the financial problems, especially of the developing world, especially of the developing countries in the southern hemisphere of the world.
Ishan, just very quickly as we wrap up, what else can we expect for the rest of the summit for those who've just tuned in?
Well, the summit is going to be now in the final leg, and India is now working on many bilateral meetings. Some of the key announcements that have come out from those bilateral meetings, one is a massive economic corridor that is being and that's just been announced by India, the US, France, and Western nations, to make a transport between India and the Middle East and Europe relatively easy. On Sunday, the world leaders are going to be in New Delhi. They are going to visit Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, his remembrance spot. They're going to be there, and that's how India is going to cap off the G20 summit, which the country says has been a massive success.